What's going on?
No.
First time on a podcast.
Yes.
I love always having first time people because it's exciting for all of us, you know?
It's a little nerve-wracking, but exciting for sure.
Is that where you were just crushing chips last night? Because you're just like, all right, I'm just going to go ham on...
Yep, I'm just going to chill, relax, and then do this. Well, I told myself in the beginning of this year that I was going to say yes to more things that would put me out of my comfort zone. So this is definitely one of them.
I know, out of nowhere, you were just like, I'm ready. And I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny that you say that. My buddies say I'm the yes guy. I never say no to anything. Because a no means nothing's going to change in your life.
Right.
But a yes might not change your life, but it also
There's a possibility.
When you say no, there's no possibility of any change.
Right.
So what's making you want to say yes more?
Just my own personal growth. Wanting to push myself, put myself in other situations that would make me very uncomfortable, but know that it makes me expand in my comfort zone, which is a good thing. Growing and expanding your comfort zone is, I think, a key part to learning.
So obviously, a lot of people don't know what you do, but you're a therapist. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
I bet that was massively stressful.
It was a lot of work.
I feel like I've been watching your Instagram for years of you going to CBU and doing this and that. And it's all the hours of studying and things like that. So when that moment happened, did you just feel a relief off of you, or you're just like, whew?
Oh, I cried.
Did you?
I cried. I FaceTimed my dad, FaceTimed both my parents because they were in Vegas at the time. FaceTime both my parents, and we all just cried.
Yeah.
Because it was so relieving.
So what made you go down that path of wanting to be a therapist? Is it to help people or just something you felt like you were super interested in?
Well, growing up, I wanted my own place to talk about things. And I didn't even know that was a thing, but I had always known I was very empathic and I could always feel other people's emotions very deeply. And I didn't know what to do with all of it. And then it started taking a toll on me. And then I went to CBU, did a communications major, realized it was public speaking.
Yeah.
Hated it. Instantly changed it to psychology after I took my first gen ed class. And I was like, there's a place for people to go and talk and help each other. That's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. And then I fell in love with it. Now that you are doing it, are you getting hit up a lot of people wanting to go down the road of your path now? What advice do you give people on wanting to go into it? So it's I get hit up more. If I got paid every time someone hit me up to be getting into real estate, I'd be a millionaire right now, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast. But I try to be honest with them. It's so hard and it's stressful, and there's a lot of ups and downs and things. So are you more the person who is gung-ho and trying to getting more people into it, or are you more hey, listen, you need these traits or this is not going to be a good job for you? So I don't get as many people asking me about how to be a therapist. I get a ton of people asking how to find a therapist. So I think because they know to be a therapist, you have to have your master's, and then you have to go do your interning, and then you have to pass 2 state board tests. It's a lot of work.
Then they just become real estate agents because it's only 6 weeks long and one test. You know what I mean?
Hey, I don't think I could do it.
That's why I did it. That's the only reason I did it. So do you think that's an issue that we have in this day and age where it's so difficult to find a therapist? I've gone to therapy in the past for work related stuff, but then trying to schedule it, and I have a good insurance, but trying to schedule it, trying to get on the same page, trying to find someone that you connect with.
Right.
Is that, you think, a very difficult thing for people, and then they just hit the wall and stop?
100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they go through maybe 1 therapist, 2 therapists, and they're like, I'm done. Which I get it. It's very discouraging when you have to, do the same process over and over again. But once you find that one, you'll know. And it's life-changing. And I think that's a good thing everybody should do, get to experience. But a lot of people give up because it is difficult. Insurances are difficult. It's expensive. Scheduling it into your schedule. But you kind of just have to make time for it, no matter what.
Yeah. Do you see an issue what would be the process? Some people are probably just scared to see what the first process, because it's such an unknown thing that no one ever talks about, of what it's your first session. Just like this, you're texting me last night, how do I prepare for a podcast? I'm like, I don't know. You just show up and talk, and I do it all the time. And so it's this is what's used to me. So if you can explain what is it to even start with a therapist? Is just you sit down and you just blah, or what is the process that most people need to know?
Usually it's an assessment session first. So my client will come on and we'll talk about the legal things that I have to report. I'll do my little spiel, and then I just ask them okay, this is going to be a series of questions. Give me as much detail as possible, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, why are you here? What happened that you need to come and see me?
Yeah. Do you think are you weird? Like you were talking right before the podcast about you, like when you get nervous before someone comes in, do you kind of do it because of your age, or you're worried that people are going to look at you a different way because you're like, well, this girl is 28. What the hell is she going to tell me?
Always.
I used to have that when I first started in real estate, because I was 27. I'd be like, why is someone going to trust me selling their biggest asset ever?
Right.
And I really have no idea what I'm doing at this point in time because I'm so new at it. Like, I know the process, but like, I don't know the ins and out of it. So how do you battle with that, of like handling that stress in your life?
Well, I've been battling that since like 2018 when I started seeing clients originally. And I worked at a rehab center, and I was there. Never been an addict myself. Addiction is in my family. I've seen it on like TV, but like I've never seen like the ins and outs of addiction until I worked there. And there were people there 18 and older, 18, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Coming to see me and my colleagues that were therapists as well, looking at us like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever been an addict? And we're like, no. How old are you? I think I was like 23 or 24 at the time, maybe. And they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do for me? We all brought it up, and one of my supervisors says, it's like when you go to the doctors, you want to ask, I have this going on. These are my symptoms. Does the doctor have to have every single disease and illness to know what to do? No, you just trust the doctor knows what they're doing. Yeah. It's kind of the same with therapy. We may not be able to experience every single thing, but we know what we're doing for the most part.
Yeah. So why do you think people get into addiction? If you don't mind me asking that. Like, obviously you see, like, I think addiction, and I'm just a dumb real estate agent, but like, I think it's you're distracting yourself from other things. Like, we see that a lot in our industry. It's like in our industry, like, people will be like really high up crushing it, and then like spiral out of control. Yeah, you can get a couple.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you mind if
No, you're all right, fine. And that's why we did this now, like the couches. It kind of feels more comfortable for people. Yeah. But then like, people wonder why do we see those guys like go down drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever? And I always tell people, I'm like, because you're looking for an escape from the stress of trying to perform every single day. So do you think that is the real reason why people go through addiction?
I can't tell you that there's one reason, right? I think that's a big reason, yes. And I think people I even think some of it's genetic, right? I think you can inherit those addictive type behaviors and tendencies. But escape for sure, and numbing, right? Some people, unhealthy coping. They don't know what to do with what they're feeling, what they've been through. And even working at the rehab, the things I would hear my clients express to me that they've been through, someone put them through, that they've experienced, they've witnessed. Like, I get it. I get it. But also, that's why there's therapy in the world to help you realize, like, you can still experience those things and process them in a healthier way to where you don't need drugs and alcohol.
Do you go to therapy still? Oh, okay. Do you use therapy because of all the things you see, or is it more you're like, how do you handle like that? Like, how do you handle hearing all those stories and everything on you, plus your own life?
Yeah, it took me a minute to be able to separate the two, leaving kind of like work at work and my personal life and my personal life. But you kind of develop that balance. But I do go to therapy for both, right? There's things that I do hear and I'm like, especially if there's something very similar in my client's life going on in my own life, then that's really hard. And I have to be able to, separate the two and keep my own stuff on my side and their stuff on their side. And so going to therapy really helps me do that.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of people hitting you up for advice now that you're a therapist? Like, I get hit up all the time. What's my house worth? And I go, are you going to sell it? Well, no, then just leave me alone. Like, I have other things to do. Like, I'm not getting paid for this. Like, it sounds awful to say that, but like, how do you handle that now? Like, cause you're people know what you do on your Instagram and stuff. So how do you walk that balance through? Of like saying yes to certain people? No, like your roommate's here right now. Like, does she walk in and goes like, I need a therapy session? Like, how do you balance that?
I've gotten really good at being able to say, like, I don't think I can mentally do this right now. If it's in like, of course, if it's urgent, tell me, but there's also boundaries, right? I'm allowed to say like, if you want like all of my attention, that's something I can't give to you right now. I've had a long day or this or that. And that's usually receptive. It's not hard to, place that boundary, but I do get a lot of people hitting me up on Instagram about that kind of information, and I don't mind sharing it. Is
that why you on Insta, you push like fitness so much? Like, is that something you think like you're helping people? Because for a while you were doing like, you were showing people like what you were doing, what you were eating, things like that. So was it like a balance of like, hey, listen, like I want to help people in all other aspects. So
well,
it's like
I think
fitness
it all comes together, right? You have 4 wheels, your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical wheel. 4 tires to a car. When one of them's out of whack, your car light comes on, you got to check that shit out. It's the same with us, right? We got to take care of like those 4 wheels, and why not promote that? Like I do believe mental health is a huge aspect, but your physical health should also be just as big.
Why do you think physical health is so important?
Because I think it also
I'm asking
takes
hard questions.
It's okay. I do think it, you know,
she's like, this is why I didn't want to come on here. This is why I said no for somebody. She's like, can we turn the fan on? Can we get like a little more water? She's like, so what do you think? Why do you think? Because you've gone deep into fitness hard for a long time now.
Right.
So like obviously fitness is super important to you. Like what is it around fitness that you think is probably so important to you?
Well, it's my healthy coping.
Got it.
It's where I go to kind of like turn my brain off, or even to just process like anger, sadness. I was just telling her, I've cried at the gym tons of times. Sometimes I'll pull up to the gym, sit in my car and cry, and then go into the gym.
And then take your scoop of pre-workout.
Yeah,
take
my dry scoop, and then I go
dry
in.
scoop. You're like wiping tears away. You get you gotta. I mean, do you ever worry like if you're crying and then you get pre-workout on your fingers and then you wipe?
Imagine?
Could you imagine getting that in
That'd
your
be
eyes?
Awful.
And so, do you think I think a big thing why people struggle is like lack of confidence.
Oh, 100%.
Like right now, I think that's the reason why I think the 2 reason fitness is so important, because 1, the better you look, the more confidence you have and the more risk you'll take. 1,
well, you just take care of yourself.
and then 2, you are able to say like no to this and no to that, and no, like right now, like I rode an hour on my mountain bike today and then I'm gonna go work out later, like when no one's watching. And sadly, I'm not going to lose 10 pounds tomorrow and have a 6-pack. So it's like that slow process.
Right. It's a lot of discipline, right? And so what do we need to practice in our daily life? Discipline, self-determination, confidence, like you said. Doing physical fitness and taking care of your mental health, they kind of get to go together. You get to do both. Yeah. And you should be taking care of yourself that way.
Yeah. So do you follow certain people? Like in my world, Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and those guys are like who I like look to all the time, like on social and things like that. Like who is someone that you kind of look to, maybe books or something that you kind of like, I don't want to call them a guru or whatever, but someone you follow and pay attention to?
Oh, I feel like I pay attention to a lot of people on Instagram.
Who'd be like your number one? Like if you could meet, if there's one person that you could meet, who would it be?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
To be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know? Mm-mm. Do you follow more fitness people online or do you follow more mental health people online? Or both?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think I pay more attention to the physical one because they post a lot more.
Yeah.
The mental
and
health
it's sexier.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that's interesting to you. Do you ever, I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions right now because this is a podcast, but, obviously in our world and Instagram, like I make a lot of content, a shit ton, and I have a full team, and then like I make like a badass smart video that could help a lot of people financially, and no one likes it. But then I post my car and I get blown. Like perfect example, I got a new Range Rover. Everyone blew me up a bit. Congrats, fire emojis, whatever. The next day I posted, I just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was so I was so stoked about that. Crickets.
0 recognition.
And I'm like,
nobody cared.
I'm like, that was a year of work and thousands and thousands of hours to make all those videos and nothing. So it's like in our space, like I talk to a lot of people about social media, especially women. I go like, stop posting your face and that, because you're just getting likes and emojis and fires. And I know that feels good because trust me, I know it.
Right.
So do you ever struggle with that where you're like, you make that post that's like every day you post like you're journaling. And then you probably post you working out today. Yeah. Congrats to Zach. We'll talk about Zach later. But like, do you hate that like that photo might get more fire emoji recognition then you're like, then the thing you're like, dude, like read the 3 things I'm writing about. You should probably be writing these same things, like what I'm grateful for today.
Right. Well, what's odd enough is that like I'm getting good recognition of both right now. I do have a lot of people very happy about the mental health things and the journal prompts that I write. And then I'm also getting a lot of like, you're motivating me to go to work out. You're motivating me not to eat. Someone texted me yesterday and was like, you motivated me not to pick up the snack and eat a protein shake. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, little things like that, I think I'm getting a good amount of both, but I do see, you know, how Instagram can be detrimental for your mental health.
Have you ever gone through that where it's like...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just shut down Instagram and just take a break from it? Yeah. See, I'm not on Instagram on the weekends.
That's smart.
Like, I don't post on weekends because
really
we're
smart.
posting so much during the week and making so much content and doing all this stuff that
Right.
it's like, I don't really show any personal life on there. It's just strictly work. Like, you don't really show too much personal, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I feel like you've been leaning more towards non-personal lately. Is that a decision you made just to kind of make a barrier?
Not really, but I don't think there's a whole lot going on in my personal
Got
life
it.
that I guess isn't already being shown.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you ever see in your industry like the struggle that other therapists see? And do you guys kind of like work with each other to kind of keep each other accountable or like check in on each other? Like, do you have a little group of like a little group of realtors, a little group of therapists you like check in with and have group messages with? Is that what you guys do?
Somewhat, yes. A lot with just like old coworkers. Not so much like online that you just like randomly meet people, but a lot of coworkers. My old colleagues, we all will like text each other about referrals or different things. Like I had a client go through something that I had never experienced and I was like, I'm feeling a little lost here.
Yeah.
So I sent a little group chat to 2 girls that I used to work with and they were very helpful.
How do you guys get your clients?
So I work under like this lady that owns her business and then we're like contracted with Kaiser and IEHP.
Thank God I never, if I ever walk in, it's you, and then I'm going to be like, I got to walk out. Feel like this is not going to work.
It wouldn't.
No.
We technically, I couldn't see you.
Yeah.
But.
That's actually happened to me before. The first therapist I ever saw was like talking about real estate, and and I was kind of upset.
Oh,
like
no.
when we got to the end, she's like, just so you know, my husband is in real estate in Riverside. And I was like, who is it? And I'm like, I know him. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that when the first thing I said, I'm in real estate?
Well, maybe at that point, like if you guys both didn't care.
I didn't care. I wouldn't have cared either way.
Yeah. Maybe for her, she might have cared.
Yeah.
But.
Do you struggle sometimes sharing, like with your, like sharing out with everyone else what you're dealing with? Even though like people have to share with you all the time.
I did it first. And then like after I passed my licensing exam and like had some own personal, you know, stuff to work through, I was like, everybody should know that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it sucked when I was going through it, but after I was like, oh, it's okay to like admit that you needed help.
Yeah. How great does it feel when you see a client like make a breakthrough? Is that like the most like greatest feeling ever?
I've cried like 3 times in the last week.
Oh.
I've had
so anyone that wants to hang out with her, just be prepared. There might be a tear session once or twice.
Always. Like I said, I'm very emotional.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the same clients for like 7 months because I started this job in September of last year, and all of my clients are slowly like moving into a maintenance phase, and they're all just like happy and expressing all the growth that they're seeing within themselves. And I think I've cried like 3 times last week because 3 clients were just like, I'm here for it. I'm so happy. I feel good. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy to know that there's other
it's
people
working.
happy out there.
Yeah, it's like working.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because it worked for me. And knowing that, you know, 1, that I could do that for somebody else. And 2, these people are going to be able to go out and also do small things for other people, you know?
When you're like hanging out with your friends or like meeting people, is it hard to sometimes turn it off, or are you just like?
No, and that's the thing.
Because like I would think I would be worried about that. I'd be like over analyzing everyone, like, and like, but people think that's me in real estate. I'm like, I don't really care how much your house is worth.
Right.
I really do not care. I don't care if you're looking to buy or sell anytime soon. Like, I that's the last. I'd rather talk about golf or mountain biking than real estate. So you have no problem like. But people always think
that's the first
thing. Do people
thing.
get worried? They're like, oh, great. Like, I'm worried I'm sitting over here. It's like, she going to think I have mom issues over here or something. You're like, why did he say that? Let's dive deeper in that. Is your dad around? Did you ever listen to Loveline back in the day?
No.
Oh, God, I'm old. No. Do you know what Loveline is?
Is it on the radio?
Oh, my God. You don't know what Loveline is?
No.
Do you know what Loveline is?
No.
Well, on that note, boys, it was nice having everyone on. And it's time to go. So Loveline, do you know who Dr. Drew is?
Yes.
So Dr. Drew used to have a show with Adam Carell it was called Loveline, and it was on the radio, and he would always, people would call in and have issues, and he would help them out. Well, Dr. Drew, I swear, every answer was always like, where's your dad at? Like, it didn't matter what the person said, it was like, where's your father at? And then it'd be like, oh, my dad was great. Where was your mother at? And then it was like, oh, my mom was great. No, where was your dad? Like, I'm like, it has to be more than just your mom and dad. Like,
well, it's a big influence. Mom and dad are a big influence on it. But
did it help that your parents are so supportive in this?
yes.
Or did they want you to go down a different road?
No, they loved it. And it's really funny because my dad's from Brazil, but his sister that lives out there, or maybe it's my uncle. My aunt or my uncle. One of them is also like a therapist. And then my cousin out there is also in the mental health field.
Do you guys get to go back there that often or no?
No.
That sucks.
I know.
I would love to go to Brazil.
Me too.
I think it'd be fun.
It's very fun.
Well, how would you know? You've never been there.
I've been there.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't been there in a very long time.
Oh, okay.
The last time I went, I think I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So moving forward, so like for you, like why didn't you go down, like obviously fitness is so big for you, and like, you know, like we're friends with Zach, and like I've been helping Zach with his fitness journey lately of building coaching programs and the media and things like that. Was that ever a process for you to go down? Like you ever thought like, hey, I might want to, instead of mental health, why not just become like a personal trainer? Or
Yeah. So not to like be a personal trainer full time, but I was looking for a job and I was like, why don't I just be a personal trainer? Side note, I failed the test. That shit's hard. So like, round of applause to people that take that test and pass and become certified personal trainers. I can't do it. I didn't study anatomy. That stuff was so hard. So I didn't understand it. So I failed it and I was like, okay, it's fine. But working out was never something that I felt like was meant for me to do as a career.
You just don't, because it's a passion of yours.
Yeah. And like, that's why I don't compete. That's why I don't, do shows or anything, because I love it so much as like something that's fun. I don't want to turn it into a competition, and I don't want to turn it into something like stressful or like feels like I have to do it. Like if I want to take a day off from the gym or if I want to eat like shit, then I'm going to be able to do both.
Yeah. How do you balance that? That's something interesting about like, on your post, you'll have like eating out, having drinks, but you're lean as shit. Like, do you just decide like, hey, like, I'm going to go do this later today, so then I know I have to work out today and not eat as much? Or you just have great genetics?
Great genetics.
Oh, you son of a bitch. That's like Zach. I'll be working out with Zach and I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, you have just great genetics. Kiss my ass. Like I'm not like you, okay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't eat like shit all the time. Thankfully, I love beer, so I will enjoy beer whenever I want, which isn't very often, but I will. But I also just don't eat like shit. Yeah. All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Just every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Hey, listen, it's all about balance.
Balance.
It's all about balance. So like, how have you ever thought about possibly wanting, you say you work underneath one, would you ever want to have your own place? Like your own
like therapy office?
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
I think private practice would be awesome.
That's the next step for you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why is it financially better?
Essentially, yes. You're not like really having to split money with somebody over you. You would just like split with the insurance. But would just be nice to like have my own stuff, my own office, my own clients, my own little. Where's your
current office at?
Well, right now I work from home, but my office is located in Redlands. But I've never had to go.
So you do all your appointments
online? Yes.
Online.
And that's what's crazy is that therapy can really just be done online. It's not my favorite, but if I have to do it, then I will.
See, it's like for me, like people have always asked me, like they'll be like, "Oh, let's do a podcast over Zoom," and I'm just like, "Nah, I'm good." Like that doesn't like
it's not as interactive.
It's not interactive. You can't like. I'm all about like. I liked reading the person's like everything about like it's all about reading the person, like how is they acting, like when you're like, oh, can I put my feet up, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that means you're comfortable. Yeah, like you're not just like, okay, so let me, you know what I mean?
Like I felt when I got here.
you're like I'm like, you have to get in the shot, and you're like, okay, like, you know what I mean?
Just my head.
Yeah, like you're like, hey everyone, and so is that kind of difficult sometimes where you're like you want like that personal touch is away from it now? But then do you think people are more comfortable with you on Zoom or less?
More comfortable.
Oh, really?
They're in their own setting. They're in their safe space. And I feel like they have a little bit more like freedom in a sense with being in their own home. The only issue that I've had with like, only being telehealth is with like kids. Oh. Their attention span is
yeah.
And it's like, hey, I know you have a screen in front of you, but I need you to pay attention.
Yeah. Who do you like working with the most?
Like age group, probably like early and late 20s, like from 20 to like 30.
Why is that?
I think it's just because I can relate the most. So like I can empathize in a way, like we're all very current. The older ones, like my imposter syndrome comes out because I feel like they're going to look at me and be like, what are you going to do for me? Which has never happened. But of course, that's what my brain tells me sometimes. And then the younger ones, they're just kids. They're so hard to work with.
Yeah. Do you ever think maybe being a teacher? No. Got it. No.
Bless teachers' hearts. Not for me.
For sure. I tell you what, like teachers nowadays, like they could have gotten anything. Like they could have literally been like, all right, all you parents, you're gonna be paying us on the side. You had to deal with your kids for a while. You had to teach them. So, all right, let's talk about. I told Zach I would do this for him. So, because Zach might be me and Zach. I hate Zach so much.
Why?
Hold on. When it comes to making content, I tell him all the time, dude, why aren't you making content every day? Why aren't you pushing out content every day? Why are you pushing out? Like, I'm like, why are you not making content every single day? And I call him all the time. I'm like, your shit's never going to be perfect.
Right.
Stop being scared. You're being a wuss. Just make it, you know? And so like, I give you huge credits. And I was on the phone with him yesterday. I was talking about you because I was saying to do the podcast. Like there's nothing worse, and we've had this talk, is like you support the people you support, and that's awesome. Like claps off for you to like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, so what was it that kind of teamed you up with Zach and kind of going down, kind of promoting his workouts and things like that? Like, do you feel like, I mean, you obviously know what you're doing. So what is it about his workouts that you're really liking?
So I reached out to Zach because I plateaued in my booty growth.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I plateaued, and so I was like, I need help. And he sent me a list of workouts, and then he was like, what do you think? And then it just turned into, hey, I'm gonna build this program. You want to try it out? Like,
Yeah.
I'll use you to help me build it. And I'm like, hell yeah. And it's worked. Yeah. So it's coming out.
Yeah.
Everybody better buy it because it's really good. It's hard. But
I hope you know we're working on it right now. Like, you know how you always do like your boomerang? So I was like, Zach, I'm going to do one just like that, just like she does. And I'm going to tag you in it and post it.
Do it.
So I was like, but every time I want to try to do it at the gym, there's always like tons of people around.
Always.
I'm like, I can't pull this off.
Yes,
like,
you can.
I'll be like,
confidence.
Yeah, well, I don't have the booty yet. You know
That's
what I mean?
okay.
Like, the thing is big, but not in a good way.
My program.
Yeah. So it's going to be your program?
By our program.
Oh, yeah. Well, trust me. Zach has
He's putting it together.
Zach has on me one right now, and he's like, all right, I need to do this, and I do that, and I do this. Then I need to take pre-photos, then post photos, and then I need to do this for you. And I'm like, yo, when am I getting paid to do all this stuff?
Right.
I don't know. So why, like, I mean, you should, I don't know why you don't have more sponsors. You only have Pure Nutrition. Is that who they are? I can't remember. Pure Nutrition. I've had them here. I should know what company they are. You've had Pure Nutrition. Like, why have you ever tried to go out and get more people?
It's a lot.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Do you like doing the photo shoots? No. Why?
I was just telling her that. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. It's more of my imposter syndrome. And so I actually said yes to one. The other brand is Beach Bum Society. I said yes to that one. Push myself out of my comfort zone. I think they have another shoot coming up tomorrow, but I can't make it, honestly. And so I'm going to try to do more of them. I just get really nervous.
You get nervous? Well, is that because you're just worried that the photos aren't going to come out well, or?
Everything. More of just, the stuff that I'm personally working through as my own person. For sure.
I hate photos, but I can be on video all day long.
I don't like either, so here we are.
I know, right? I love it because it's been so cool watching like all the memories come back. And I think that's the one thing people don't like take advantage of social is like my grandfather is right above you, and he passed away in 2019. But like
Aww.
I get to see memories of him every day almost on Facebook because we took so much video. And like the thing I regret the most is I wasn't doing this when he was alive, because I would have loved to do one with him. Right. Like, I actually had my parents coming in to do one.
How fun.
Right? Just because it's like, how cool would that be, down the road or one day, and then you maybe can always have it. And it's like, I only have like 3 voicemails from him. It's like, could you imagine an hour podcast with someone?
That'd be dope.
Yeah. So your brother's really into fitness. I know that too. You guys are always working out together. He works where is he working out? Gerpal now, yeah. He was at Hot Kitchen.
Yes, he was. He was at Hot's Kitchen, and then Worthington's for a little bit, and then now Gerpal.
Was it nice when you finally got to leave Lake Alice, or did you miss that place?
I miss the people. I miss my family since there. I miss some of my regulars. But it was just nice not having to grind that hard every weekend.
Yeah, because you were working 2 jobs at that point? Or no?
Yes, I was doing my master's program, a full-time internship, and then like 30 hours there on the weekends.
Do you feel when people like complain to you about doing stuff, you're like, yo, listen, I did this, and this. Like, you could totally do it. I
don't get like that, but I'm like, I get it. You know, I get it. It's hard. And like, that was the early to like mid 20s for me. It was a lot of work. And I feel like that's where a lot of people I know right now are at, constantly feeling they have to grind in their early and mid 20s. I'm like, trust me, it'll end. You'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, but that grind is hard. I
think it's hard, like, but then like, it's like you have to go hard for a few years because you got to get that like momentum going. Yeah. And then that's like, people see me now and they're like, you don't seem like you work that much. I'm like, yeah, I do. But like, I'm like, I did like 4 years of like 50, 60, 70 hours a week.
Right.
And now,
that's me now.
And now I just pay people like, but I'm like, you know how many hours I spent in this office, like at 4 a.m, like working?
To be a therapist, you have to give 3,000 interning hours. That's like 3 years for little to no pay. Lots of places say, no, they're not going to pay you. Lots of people will pay you very low on the therapist end. And you can't make a living off of that.
Was it exciting was a big move for you to move out of your parents' house finally? Was that super exciting? Like, I loved it. Was it just like relief? Or was it just like, this is mine? Essentially, yes. Yeah. Well,
it just gave me a new chapter to my life. And then now I have another one. My other new chapter.
Oh, your new roommate? Oh, well, congratulations. Yeah. So moving forward, like, what advice would you give to people like in your 20s, 30s? Like, obviously, one, we both think that therapy is important, but we also know, like, one, a lot of people can't afford it, or two, like, the stigma or whatever that is. So, like, how are you tips or something like that to help people get through the ups and downs of their lives? I know that's like a really in-depth question, but like, is it to have an escape for you? Like, is it like have a healthy escape, like fitness, or is it like just talking to someone, or
all of it?
Yeah.
All of it. I think you need a good support system, right? You need to surround yourself with people who provide you with a sense of peace, that are there to support you, to listen to you, to love you, to guide you. And then you also need your alone time, right? You need that time to check in with yourself, to ask yourself, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What am I feeling? That's why I like the journaling. It helps me like stay checked in with myself. And then professional help. I know that it's not always accessible to people, but if you look around, I'm sure there's some resources that are available of low cost, no cost. There's things out there. It's just very hard to find. So I get it. It is discouraging. But if you can't, seek out professional help, surround yourself with the right people. And the right things.
Yeah. Do you when people try to give you advice and you're just like, well, I'm totally not listening to that person. Does that happen to you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I can hear like, maybe it's their ego talking with the advice, or their own personal things that they've been through. And so it really wouldn't relate for me. But I just take it and I can roll with it.
My advice, I always say when someone tries to give me advice, I say, unless you have to deal with the outcome, I don't listen to you.
Well, I mean, hey, we can listen to the advice. We just don't have to actually do it. You don't have to do it. Yeah.
So moving forward this year, you obviously are saying yes to a lot of things. So what is a yes that's on your list that by the end of this year, if you say yes to it, you'll make your year? Like, is there something on your board right now that you want to say yes to that you can't?
I didn't actually plan anything like that. I just said if things come up, then I'm going to say yes.
Well, that's exciting. Like I said, I'm the yes guy. Like, I always say yes to everything. And it's never strayed me wrong. You know what I mean?
I believe it. Because I mean, like, even growing up and even within my like jobs, asking for more. I went to my last job and I wanted a raise, and I was going to my boss and I was freaking out. My mom was like, well, look at it this way. The worst she can say is no. And then you continue to make the same money you already make.
Yeah.
And she's like, just ask. And I asked, and I got more than what I asked for. And I was like, oh, if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have gotten this raise or the extra money. Are you kidding me? So I'm learning how to just ask, be more assertive, and speak up and say yes, push yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way you're going to grow.
I think that's definitely harder for women to speak up. And that's like I think the double standard in our world is like, if a woman speaks up, she's a bitch. But if a guy speaks up, he's just like being a man.
He's just being honest. He's just talking.
Yeah, he's just like being a man. But then if a girl does, you're like, oh man, she's a bitch. Exactly. But then trust me, you guys also have a lot of benefits over us. Like, let's be honest. Like, your lives are a little bit. That's how I always tell any woman I have in here. I always say, like, you know how powerful you are. Like, women are the most powerful people in this world. They just don't realize it always. Like, they just have to realize.
Ain't that the truth?
It is the truth. Like, I always laugh. I'm like, dude, you can literally go do anything you want.
Right.
Like, you are more powerful than me. Like, more people will do it. You just have to not allow people to walk all over you.
Right.
And that's tough.
It's very tough.
You know?
Yep.
Something I struggle with is like my perception online and my perception in person.
Same.
And that balance of it. Like, people will see me online and they'll be like, God, you're so like aggressive and like loud. And I'm like, and then they meet me in person, like, you're so nice and like calm. And like, I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, that's a persona. That's not real.
Right.
Like, I have to somehow get people's attention and like being like, hey, everyone, my name is Adam. And that doesn't really work. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it because, one, I'm excited that I helped you do something that you didn't think you were going to do.
Me too.
That's exciting.
This is my first podcast.
When are you going to start your own podcast? Say yes.
I don't even know if any. We just said this last night. We both.
You guys are more than welcome to use this podcast whenever you room for free.
Could you imagine?
That'd be great.
I know. We'd have to find shit to talk about.
You know what I mean? You two could easily have one.
We could.
We
I don't even
have a sign.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, why not? Who knows?
Who knows?
Where the world might take you.
I know. With this year, we're gonna say yes. So
does she say no to a lot of? Do you say no to a lot of things?
No, I always say yes.
Is that why you started rooming with her?
It's gonna.
Do you try to force her all the time to get on stuff?
No, we
just moved in together.
Oh wow! Like new.
Like a week.
A week.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk in 6 months. See how that goes. I'll be like, hey, how's that going? Like, she moved out, just so you know. And the podcast is over.
We did not before it even began.
For a long time. We're almost family. Well, we are.
Essentially, yes.
Where did you guys meet? The gym?
No.
Before that?
Well, our cousins are married.
Oh.
So, like, my cousin married her cousin.
Got it.
So.
And there's Adrian. You come after the podcast, jerk. So that's Adrian, everyone. He's walking by.
Hello, Adrian.
Oh, hopefully, you know what? We'll get a photo then when we do to end this so we can do it. So we're starting a podcast this year.
Okay.
Deal number one. Hey, Adrian, can we get a photo for the podcast? Thank you. I don't know why he does it. That's him saying yes. So we're doing a podcast this year.
Yep.
Because I think you would crush it. Why would you not? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm happy we're starting a podcast for you this year. 2, we're going to get on Zach about his program. 3, you're going to have your own booty program.
3, buy the program. Check it out. It's going to be good.
It worked for her.
It works. It works.
Make sure you go follow her. She's crushing it. Just like knowing someone that's like going through it. And like, I think mental strength is what separates, honestly, from nothing to greatness is it's nothing else.
It's just checking in with yourself, taking care of yourself, and being happy, right? With so much shit going on in this world right now, the pandemic, everything else, you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, just be happy.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
And because you rub off on other people, and we just all need to make each other happier and be nicer to each other.
Yeah. So. I know this keeps on going, but are you quick on cutting people out of your life? Like, I'm very quick.
I was so terrible at that.
I'm so fast at it. Like, even my parents, like, I'll take breaks from my parents if they're like, if they're being really negative. I'll never. There's a story. Like, I left, opened this office way too early in my career, cost me way too much money.
Right.
And I was sitting. That was my old office right there, and it's like we're ripping floors out, and there's contractors here, and I'm like scared out of my mind because I'm like, oh my God, this is costing me way too much money.
Yeah.
I was 30 years old. I was brand new in the industry. I was so dumb for doing this. My ego got me in trouble. 100%. My ego totally got me.
Hey, but it worked out for you.
But it worked.
So it worked out for you.
And my mom was sitting here just being like super negative and just being like, I don't even know how much this costs. And I just told her, I'm like, you can leave.
Right.
Because I'm already stressing out about this. And I know it's coming
from the negative energy.
I don't need the negative energy.
Right.
I know it's coming from a good a place. I'm like,
a concern.
A concern.
But it's not helping me.
And I said, are you more nervous for you or are you more nervous for me? And I think sometimes parents do that where it's like they don't want their kids to fall on their face because then they have to explain. And then after this worked out, my mom was like, I'm so happy you did this. So proud of you.
Yeah.
So Lauren, I appreciate it. Make sure to go get help. If you have any questions, follow her on Instagram. Yes. She can help you out because she's going to open her own office soon and she can have her own clients.
To, send out as many resources as needed, right?
Yeah.
Like I have no problem doing my own research. I help a ton of people find therapists already. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on.
Of course.
All right. Peace.